Radio Show with your host, Lonnie Clark. We stand together and accept that we now live in a world transformed by Fukushima. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on UCY.TV Radio. We relentlessly engage every ear that listens. We expose and confront the complete lack of accountability for the nuclear industry. Consider social engineering programs who view our bodies, minds, and souls as assets on a balance sheet. We discuss vital current issues, interview activists, and engage our audience in an effort to allow all voices to be heard. The Age of Vision radio show creates a venue that all will choose. We encourage our listeners to reclaim their power and their courage to take action and save our planet from the ravages of greed and indifference. Our actions matter. Every voice matters. We remind our listeners that happiness is resistance. Love is greater than fear. Good morning, UCY.TV radio listeners. This is Lonnie Clark with the Age of Fission radio show. Thank you for joining us here. Our show is 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. So I attempt to bring you live interviews with people and activists around the country, healers, and people that will help us learn how to live in this age of fission. And Rick Gold, who we'll be listening to in a minute, has been running Eugene Peaceworks since I think 1980. And they heard about an ability to get a permit for an FM station, which they have never handed out. So I want to read from you their intro, KEPW Community Radio Launch Fund. More than ever, we need independent media to give voices to those left unheard by corporate outlets. That is why Eugene Peaceworks is proud to sponsor KEPW. Eugene Peaceworks, KEPW. Get that, folks? KEPW, Homegrown Community Radio. We have an FCC construction permit for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to provide diverse, locally produced programming in the Eugene and Springfield area. Our engineers have successfully located a suitable tower, and we now must raise a minimum of $10,000 to cover transmission equipment, installation, and antenna tower leasing costs in order to move from streaming online to simultaneously broadcasting at 97.3 FM by February 2017. To acquire a broadcast license, we must meet this deadline, so it is vital that we raise these funds as soon as possible. We are excited to tell you we have raised more than $4,000 towards our goal, with grants pending for more. KEPW.org is already streaming online with locally produced programming that shines the light on swept-under-the-rug issues and brings diverse voices to the air. We are also very proud to carry Democracy Now! And to bring back David Barsimian's popular alternative radio, which was dropped by KLCC, which is the local station here, after airing for 30 years. KEPW supports our vibrant arts community by showcasing local music talent and is rapidly increasing its news and entertainment program, with more and more producers going on the air from our radio station at the Growers Market. Your donation will help us improve the quality of media via our airwaves. Please support KEPW today. I hope you enjoy the interview, and we'll talk with you guys soon. Good morning, UCY.TV radio listeners. This is Lonnie Clark with the Age of Fission radio show. Thank you for joining us today. Please remember to share our station. We're a young internet online station, and we need your support just by sharing it. You can also find a podcast of this video on YouTube under UCY TV. So thanks for joining us today. We are sharing our time with another person who is making an effort to affect the airwaves with truth and justice. And I've got Rick Gold on the line from Eugene Peaceworks, and he and his friends here in Eugene are gathering up their resources and actually making it happen to start a new AM band radio station.
No, FM.
FM band. It is KEPW, correct?
97.3 FM.
97.3 FM. So thank you, Rick, for joining us. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Lonnie. You're amazing.
Why, thanks. I'm actually just willing to be here every day. That's the amazing part of it.
That's, 90% of the fight.
I guess, So tell us, we're both in Eugene. I met Rick. Rick, you probably, if anybody's followed my YouTube channel, you've seen Rick Gold. They were the one organization willing to stand up with us when we did an action at the Salem courthouse. I think it was last year, wasn't it, Rick? On 3/11, we did a 3/11 protest in Salem.
And we also went up to Portland.
And they went to Portland, and I did not. So thank you for that, and I'm grateful. So look, we did not run into each other on 3/11. I was out at the library in the rain. I just decided I was going to do it anyways. And so look, we're all here because we have to change the paradigm. So why don't you tell us about KEPW and explain what you guys are up to and where you're at in the process.
Okay, well, we got in on this thing where the FCC, because of court order, was required by the courts to allow, to provide licenses to low-power radio stations all across the U.S. They basically handed out something like 10,000, licenses to nonprofits and just, religious groups, what have you, for starting independent, small community radio stations all across the U.S. And Eugene Peaceworks jumped into the fray and said, we'd like to sponsor one of these, and it's a lot of work. And
it is a lot of work,
finally,
and I have
after
to apologize.
2 years of struggle and, just basically all kinds of different adventures, got on the air this last month.
And you guys are on 24 hours a day or so many hours a day?
By the way, it's a community radio station that hosts just about any, local person who wants to come by and, tell their story or play their music. Or,
is it on 24 hours a day?
Yes.
Wow. That's pretty awesome. You know what? I have to admit, I just realized KEPW stands for Eugene Peaceworks, doesn't it?
Yes.
This is the sad state of affairs in our world. It took me this long to just connect that dot.
I know. We were fortunate to get those call letters because you basically have to get everything approved by the FCC.
That was pretty awesome. That was a good to get that KEPW, Eugene Peaceworks. That goes right along with now, is the radio station inside the nonprofit or is it a separate entity?
No, it's inside the nonprofit.
That's awesome. And so what kind of programs you've gotten up on the last month? What kind of programs do you currently have, and what kind of programs are you looking for?
Well, we're looking for just about anything, actually, and basically it's a, with a local bent, because there's enough commercial radio stations out there that, and NPR stations and whatnot that don't have a local bent. There's a lot of stuff that's, going by the wayside because it doesn't have a voice. So we're encouraging everyone and anyone who, would like to express their innermost, feelings or their innermost music and, to bring it down. And we have weekly meetings on Thursdays at 6 p.m. at Growers, 454 Willamette, at 6 p.m. And those are our meetings to get to know people.
And then people would bring their ideas to you there.
Yeah.
That's the best way to figure it out. Now, what if somebody doesn't have any radio experience? What happens with that person?
Well, we have training.
Mm. And do you do pre-recorded audios on your station?
Yeah.
Are you up to that?
They do everything.
Okay.
Right now, because we're just getting going, they have a lot of canned programming, In other words, pre-recorded programming.
Kind of like this show.
I'm sorry?
Kind of like this show.
Yeah. Right. And in the future, they're hoping to have quite an eclectic, bunch of ideas and people and shows.
Well, so that leads me into this. If somebody listening to this interview wants to help support KEPW, they want to support independent radio, how do they get in touch with you? What would they do to make a contribution? I guess it's nonprofit, so they would make a contribution, right?
Yes.
Do
they just go to KPW.
Go ahead.
On the internet, they'd go to kpw.org.
Great. And what kinds of things are still needed to make your station really a good, strong station?
What kind of things? I guess more community people, coming and doing their thing.
And what about your equipment? I mean, how far does your station go? Do you have a big,
in the valley.
Huh?
The Eugene Valley.
To the Eugene Valley. If you had how do you get yourself hooked up to, like, say, a more national venue? How does that happen?
The internet.
Through the internet.
They do a split, a simulcast, where one side of what's going on goes out to the internet, and the other side is broadcast out to the valley.
So people could go to kepw.org and listen to the internet, listen to it. Is there a button to click?
Yes.
Awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
How long have you had this idea, Rick? I mean, how long did it take you guys to make this come to fruition? And how did you hear about this, the government giving away these sites?
Well, that is a lot of questions. There was a gentleman who was already in a small radio on the coast in Florence, and he was in touch with and aware of the greater movement of his name's Rand Dawson, of the movers and the shakers, and he let us know that the government, he let Peaceworks know that the government was doing, this thing, and he said, you better jump in right now, and grab one of these because they're going to go away really quickly, and we could have, lost in an application because there were, other groups, religious groups, and I don't even remember all the various licenses, but I guess Eugene Peaceworks had been a strong presence here in Eugene for, many, many, many years, so the FCC gave us a license to construct the radio station 2 years ago
Awesome.
when they were giving away all of these licenses all over the U.S. And we just found out the other day that only 8% of them have been fulfilled to where they're now operating,
Wow, well, congratulations. That's super awesome.
Yeah.
That is really awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
we think so too.
I'll tell you the truth. Understanding your venue makes me want to offer up my services to do something on your airwaves so we can get the people of Willamette Valley aware of really the nuclear hazard that's... does anybody have a show on your airwaves about the hazards of nuclear pollution in our own state?
Not yet here.
Well, I guess I need to step up to the plate.
Yeah, now that you're a U of O student, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, because really, honestly, I was a little bit dumbfounded myself about, I don't know, I must have found it maybe 2 months ago, to discover that there's a fuse wrap site here in Oregon. It's an open uranium mine. It's considered a high priority to the EPA. I just was Googling fuse wrap sites in Oregon, and there are 3 of them. One is in Albany, not Corvallis, Albany. And I think that's where ATI was, where the nuclear contamination, where that metal processing company was. That uranium mine and Trojan. And Trojan, by the way, has 34. We learned this in the panel that we did with Dr. Caldecott. Trojan has 30 casts, even though it's a closed nuclear facility. 34 casts of nuclear waste there. That's outrageous.
Well, in the years of Trojan, when we fought to have it closed, and I mean, that was where people chained themselves to the gates, of the compound. And they had said, as part of their, when they finally did say, this isn't worth it anymore, there were just so many people who were totally against them, that they would take those 30 casks and ship them up the Columbia River to the burial site at Hanford, and that was where they had left it, but the casks never moved. They kept them there on site.
When Theo, who's called Hippie with a Gun on YouTube, he's an anti-nuke activist who was here in Eugene for a while. He just moved. He just left Eugene. He and I went up to Trojan to take a look at it, and we were walking around on the little path they have around the entire facility. They've turned it into a park. And I had stopped to videotape some raspberries that were mutated. They were like raspberries with the leaves growing out of the leaves, growing out of the leaves. It was like this weird little twisty thing. It was super bizarre.
Did you eat any raspberries?
Yeah, huh?
Did you eat any raspberries?
Actually, I did not. No. And
but
some man stopped, and he was like, it was odd. He came up and just started a casual conversation. I said, isn't this shocking? He's like, oh, yeah. He goes, but it's pretty safe around here. He goes, there's no storage. He goes, they've taken all the waste and taken it and moved it to Hanford.
Yeah, well, it was untrue.
But that's not what the NRC document says as of 2013.
No, I know.
I mean, either he was one of them misinforming people or he was seriously misinformed himself. So.
Well, either or.
Either or. So, Rick, can I ask you kind of an off-the-wall question?
Can I go back to
Please.
Anyway, when we were doing our research, we found out that our own utility was a major player in that nuclear plant, Trojan 2. And that has been covered up pretty successfully, too.
You mean
EWEB.
EWEB was a...
Yes.
What do you mean, a contributor? I don't understand that.
They owned a piece of Trojan.
So didn't that lose money? Did it make the utility lose money?
No, they just passed it on to the utility,
To
people.
us.
to us, yeah.
To its consumers.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Well, good on you for getting this site together, and I'll just make this on-air commitment to you. I'll meet with you I'll call you back, and we'll figure out some time when I can make a regular commitment or figure out a way to help you support there. Because there's a lot of information here that we need to get out to people about our local areas, but really even on the bigger general picture. I think it's very important. This is why I so appreciate you. You are really, your organization really is
you.
Huh?
I appreciate you.
Well, thank you. But your organization really is the only organization in Eugene that actively goes out and talks about stopping nuclear. Why is that?
Yeah.
Why? Why? I mean, Eugene prides itself for being progressive and the movers, and this is where things happen. Why has Eugene taken such a, I mean, I think it's December when they have the Hiroshima Day, right? Here, and they give that little, I mean, they don't even want Thaston Ricklin, who is from the Marshall Islands, to have a table out there anymore because he can't help but talk about the nuclear thing.
I know.
Why is there this silence? Have you gotten any feedback on why they don't want, why people, the activists in this town, think that nuclear is not front and center, the most urgent thing we have to deal with?
Boy, that's a big question.
I know. And has anybody talked to you about it?
Oh, yeah. A lot. People are afraid. I think they're really afraid of even considering anything nuclear, I mean, it's such an overwhelming, idea that, this could be out in the world. This, it's once they release Pandora's box, it's here forever.
Right.
And it is insidious in that it's, invisible, and, it bonds with, whatever it comes into contact with and becomes, a mutating part of it.
Right.
Plants, animals, humans, anything.
But you know what? There are solutions, Rick. There are solutions that are being suppressed. I did an interview this morning with Shaziz, and he was talking about Shaziz.com. He's a citizen scientist. He's got this site called Shaziz.com. He's mad scientist, and he's not just mad, he's angry because they're suppressing all this information. And that's part of what we need to do. But I think if we my goal with doing these interviews and for talking frankly about this issue is to eliminate the fear. Because we are like frogs in the pot of water, and it is too warm for us to jump out. There's just no getting out of it. We have to figure out a way how to cool it down from ourselves, and I think the best thing we can do is keep a cool head. You know what I mean? Like, refuse to be freaked out by it, and just not to embrace the radioactivity, but just to admit that and be prepared. Like, be prepared, because let's be very clear, especially here in the Northwest. It's not a matter of if about Columbia Generating Station in Hanford being a catastrophic event. It is a matter of when. Now, the when that I push for is to have it closed down so that it doesn't go into a meltdown state. But even if it was closed down and there was an earthquake, it could still be catastrophic to Hanford.
Yeah.
And we're still going to have to deal with it.
And we've got to stop these crazy people at OSU who are doing these small-scale new nuclear reactors,
Well, they're going full steam ahead with those. They've stopped them in Oregon, stopped them in Washington, but they're building them in Idaho. And I just read an article this morning that said small-scale reactors are the wave of the future, and they are out. They are way out.
Yeah.
Yeah, out, in fact. I mean, it is totally stunning.
Yeah. Do you know that NASA did a couple of rockets that were nuclear powered that they tried to launch and they totally blew up, But they thought, oh, this would be a great way to power our rocket ships,
Yeah. Yes, I do know. Well, you know that all of our nuclear submarines are powered by nuclear power.
Yeah.
I mean, those are just little atomic bombs in the making.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And there are also other nuclear ships out there, too,
Why do you think the world, you've been a peace activist for how long, Rick?
Oh, gosh.
How long has Eugene Peace Works been around?
I'm sorry, say it again. Say it again.
How long has Eugene Peace Works been around?
Well, since the early 70s, I guess. It was citizens' action for lasting, or it was for lasting security, yeah. And then it went to Eugene Peace Works because it organized with a state, various state groups who were working on peace issues, and that's when it was like 1980, 1979, something like that.
Okay,
so 20-something years.
So you never gave up the peace movement, essentially. That happened.
No.
So why did the rest of Eugene give that up? I mean, why is it that we have all these community organizations here, and not just Eugene, but all across the nation? Like, I don't understand, like even in St. Louis, where people are living right next door to a burning nuclear dump site, that's a great community. And yet, they are not protesting, they are not organizing so that the whole nation knows it's happening. It's like here in Eugene, for 3/11, nobody even attempted to go out into the streets.
I know.
I mean, we were there. And actually want to know, this will be very interesting for you, that the, hold on, I'm a little bit distracted here. Just one second. Okay. They've never even attempted to go out in the street, but when we were out there, we were in front of the library, and Hippie with the Gun brought a sign that said Fuktonium, Fuktonium. The library asked us to move, and we were asked to move across the street because we were scaring people. We were scaring the little kids. And the odd part was the Eugene Weekly. I had put an ad out in the. I remember I talked to you about it last week. I'd put an ad out in the newspaper, and the Eugene Weekly did not print it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, well, they tend to do that. And so what happened was, I thought it got changed to a peace vigil. I'm like, what? Turns out that the peace vigil has been taking place there for 10 years. Right?
Wow!
Every Saturday, they do their little peace vigil. I ran into some people there that were really sweet. And, I mean, I'm going to go down and meet them again because they were really good people. I mean, that's pretty dedicated to stand out every Saturday for an hour or two.
Yeah.
In Eugene, hold your flag out and put the intention of peace out there.
Yeah.
This is one of the things I think that as a new activist I have to remember, because I'm sort of an actions person and I like results, is to recognize that in this arena, it doesn't come fast because they have all the power.
Yeah. It's so true, and that's the reason that people are just like, I don't know, walking around in a daze, it's come to point these days with the political climate and whatnot, where people are just keeping their heads above water, and trying to make a living, and basically
and they don't want to think about it, because if they are going to get affected, there's nothing they can do to stop it. But that is actually not true. So this is why I think we need to take the fear out of it, because there's things we can do, and we don't just drop over dead like immediately, right?
Yeah, I know.
Like, it takes a while, but our quality of life is often immediately affected. I mean, there's a lot of people with diabetes, a lot of people with schizophrenia, autism. I mean,
yeah.
But the deniability is so, I don't know, you've probably run into this a lot, haven't you? Like, they just kind of look at you and go,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the name calling too. That's, what happened? Somebody flipped us off.
Wow.
We were, standing there and somebody flipped us off. Like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, and then we had, the last time we protested, somebody called us stinky hippies. We're standing in front of the Wayne Morris building. I mean. Yeah,
get a job.
Get a job. What's really hilarious is if, I have a job, frankly. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I don't have a job, and I wouldn't exactly, I'm an enrolled agent, I wouldn't exactly qualify myself as a hippie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I am a progressive, I guess. I don't know. I hate all those terms, you know what I mean? All that stuff, they just use it to batter you with.
Yeah.
Well, Rick, I really wanted to pick your brain about all this activism, because one of the things that really just hits me like a ton of bricks is I feel like the activists are failing.
Yeah.
I mean, how do we achieve success between us? I mean, have you ever been involved in any kind of a movement where there was harmony within everything? Not since the late 60s.
Right.
Huh. Were you at the post inaugural protest?
Yeah.
You were. Everybody in Eugene was there. Did anybody tell you to go out? Did anybody call you and say, "Hey, let's go do this," or did you just see it? How did you see that happen?
People were talking about it, just in general in the background, and so I picked it up and I said, okay, I'm going to go out.
That's kind of what I did. That's what we did. We made up a protest sign and just stood out in the street spontaneously, and it was pouring raining. Yeah. I mean, this is what we need with the nuclear stuff, though. I mean, this is the thing. Can you believe that Fukushima's gone on for 6 years? It's worse than ever, and people don't even really want to talk about it.
It's going to be worse than ever.
Huh?
It's going to be worse than ever. Forever.
You mean we don't have any? Well, that's if they do nothing. There's things they can do. They're not doing the things that they can do to stop it.
I agree.
I mean, they pick.
There's always been things that they can do, but that's not what they're in business to do. They're there to keep creating more, so they keep shoving money down that rabbit hole.
Why do you think they want all this nuclear pollution? There has to be a reason. They're intentionally creating it.
Yeah. There is a reason.
Do you know it? Do you think you know it?
Maybe.
Maybe. Well, what is it? Tell us, please.
Well,
do you think it's related to Go ahead.
I think it's just modifying human genes. It's an experiment.
We really are lab rats. We're assets on a balance sheet. We really are their little lab rats. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
They could care less about the human condition, about our culture, about our lives, about the way we've lived over the last 10, 11,000 years, the different cultures that have developed.
Yeah.
they're just going to kill everybody, murder, death, kill.
Yeah.
Well, that's their paradigm. That's not our paradigm.
Right. I totally agree.
You know, that's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to go down. We're going to go down swinging.
Yeah.
Who's involved with Peaceworks? Let's get back to Peaceworks, and let's talk about the radio show. We have about 20 minutes left. So,
okay.
What is Eugene Peaceworks, and who's involved with that, and how strong is it, and what's its mission?
Well, I think it's a shoestring kind of organization. You know, I mean that it's a bunch of interesting peace characters who, for years, have worked on one or another aspects of what they saw as the pressing issues of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And my focus, of course, was anti-nuclear, because I couldn't think of any bigger, you know, issue for a long time. And there were other people who came who had, you know, other, for them, pressing issues, and most of them related to social or political or, you know, just really caring people who took the time out of their lives instead of, you know, having another kind of job, and said, you know, this is something that's more important for, you know, humanity than my own individual, you know, comfort or safety or whatnot, you know. And people went to Eugene Peaceworks in Eugene because it was open for people who wanted to go and who wanted to, you know, work on some aspect of peace, you know, that wasn't necessarily the focus of anyone else, you know.
And so,
you know,
have you been one of those organizations that's been instrumental here in Eugene getting like the Eugene City Council to take sort of compassionate steps towards, say, the homeless, or calling our city a sanctuary city, or any of that stuff that's happened?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of the above. But, you know, for instance, when I got back involved in UG Peaceworks, I was a student at the University of Oregon, and they were really working on, I think, at that point, a lot of different, you know, changing the political structure for, you know, people to be more responsible to all of those social issues that we see still here and still ever present.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to meeting, a conference of people at that time who were very, very concerned about Trojan nuclear plant and, you know, in Oregon, you know, and what we should do about it.
So, but what has happened? Trojan was like the big last action, but what about ATI? Were you guys aware that ATI in Albany was a big toxic dump site? A nuclear dump site? That's where they make all the nuclear components.
Yeah. People were unaware because I think at most of the time they were hiding that fact.
Yeah.
You know,
I just found out.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the shock. It's like I just found out that there's an abandoned uranium mine in Lakeview in the forest. A gaping open hole right there to the east of us. And it's just like, they didn't even go in there for 20 years, and when they did, what they did was they built trails to try to catch the overflow water in this little pond underneath it. So there's this huge pond of water there that's growing. It's such a gigantic mess. I can't even comprehend. And they only go back there every 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And they don't cordon off that section of the mountains to anybody.
I know.
It's incomprehensible, the disregard for human life. So how does what's Eugene Peaceworks' stance on the whole thing with Trump Nation gutting the EPA and these? I mean, you and I are old enough to remember what it was like before the EPA had some big teeth in it.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I think that's where we're going to have to take some really organized actions, because we're going to see, I mean, this is the thing. Nuclear is the invisible polluter. So people only get active when they see things like the lead that was going on. But yet, again, the lead in Flint is still coming out of their pipes looking orange. There's no big hurry up by the Army Corps of Engineers or by anybody in our country to like, oh my God, this city needs its pipes replaced. Let's hire 100,000 people to get it done in a month.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have done that. We're sending how much money a day to Israel, to Iraq, to Afghanistan? I mean, we send money to the enemies of our friends.
I know.
Does that make sense?
I don't know. If they want to destroy the world, they're doing a very good job of it.
Exactly. They are doing a very good job of it. But you know what I know? Love is greater than fear, Rick. I know that we're here on purpose, and I know that we have, I mean, I guess it's blind faith, but I really believe that we're here on purpose and that love, I actually really believe that Gaia, the number one purpose of this planet is love. I think that's our number one energy on this planet.
I agree.
Good. So in agreement,
and
so shall it be.
Bottom line for why people are so, hooked into peace. They seem to go hand in hand.
Say that again?
I said that's the number one reason that people get involved and are hooked on peace, because they see it going hand in hand with love.
Love and peace, love and peace. Well, I think that's why we're willing to accept these monsters that are destroying our planet. Because human beings want peace so badly, they're willing to be abused. They want peace more than they want anything else. They want love and peace. They just want to be left alone. They just want to be able to live their lives. And so if that means that they live, one person or a small, like a few hundred people have super uber wealth and create all this oppression, as long as you're left alone, people are okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is where we need to wake people up and help them understand that, we deserve a better life. That's not self-love. I mean, we deserve to be able to leave our grandchildren an environment that is not going to kill their children.
I agree.
And there are solutions. So.
Yeah.
Well, look, I brought you on here because I really wanted to talk to you about KEPW.org, your radio show, because I think that's really fascinating. We are a burgeoning radio show. Our station, UCY.TV, you can find us as people, if you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, you can find us on www.ucy.tv. If you want to find my show, it's /AOF. But we are also like a burgeoning little station, and we're like little beacons out in the big, huge noise of all these monsters, really, that are getting big funding to be objective. Like your organization, our organization, we rely on donations to upgrade and improve our facilities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
totally.
Self-funding, like you, our producer, I'm sure she puts a bunch of money into this, but I mean, really, honestly, we need to have different voices out there. I mean, it is very, very important.
Yeah, and I think that that's the whole point of KEPW, is that in order for people to have a voice, they need a medium where they can feel like it's their own, as well as their program, but to see all of these, individuals who've come together to, make this thing a reality so that other people can say, oh, wow, it's already there, it's up, it's doing this thing. Now I can go in, and get fostered and shown all the ropes, and I can actually, get my message out. That's, a beautiful thing,
Yes, and it's actually not just beautiful, it's a necessary thing. We need to have people who have that drive to have their voice heard, to allow them to be heard.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why they have the urge to speak out. It's because, as Helen Caldecott says, the patient is in the emergency room and he's in critical condition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, our planet needs people to step up. And so if that means that's why I like on this show, I bring different people on, like even you. I'm helping you promote a very local radio station. I think it's very important.
Yeah, I agree.
So, well, do you have any regular, I know it's a brand new radio station, do you have any regular shows that you've got lined up or anything like that yet?
I think that right now they have a jazz show, all that jazz.
Yeah.
They picked up the shows that KLCC has dropped, and the national shows that have informed everybody for years. So those are the things that they have right now, and they've got a bunch of other
awesome.
Donated materials at the moment from other radio, little small independent radio stations, so that until we get, the people who are local and, really need to get their voice out there, we're just holding the line because we are operating and out there on the air now.
That's awesome. Well, I'll have to help you out on getting you some people on there, and I can step up on that one also. But so,
cool.
You said something there about, what is the numbers on the radio dial, on the FM radio dial locally here in Eugene?
97.3.
97.3. No doubt I've listened to this very regularly, 97.3. And then on the internet, they can go to KEPW.org.
Yep.
That's awesome. And they could also contribute there. So, because it is a very big thing that we have got this. When was the last time that the FCC gave these stations out? Hasn't it been a
Never.
while? Right. It's been a long time. They've never given them out?
Yeah. Never.
This is
the
first
they were forced
time?
To. Yeah. They were forced to from a federal court. I mean, there were some people who were doing what they call pirate radio, and the FCC prosecuted them and ended up losing because they didn't have a venue for the little guy. So because of that ruling, we all got the ability to have our own little radio stations legally.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. And so this is just sort of like to be specifically local. Now, if your station got, say, a $10 million contribution, could you go public? Could you go national? Could you buy like a big, I guess, satellite equipment, or I don't know what makes you do that, but could or is that against the charter of this particular license? You have to be local.
No, we're already national and international. We're on the internet too.
Yeah, so there's no structure in terms of that, but so You can tell I'm definitely not a science person. I apologize for these painful questions about how far people can reach you on the radio, Rick, because I don't quite get the science of how the radio works. I understand the internet, but with the radio, you have to have, like, they're beams, right? They're just radio waves.
Yeah.
So,
we have
like,
a tower.
Right. And so your show, could it be picked up, say, like when I travel from Eugene to Portland, there's, like the National Public Radio, if you're traveling across the country in 2 days, you're pretty much going to hear the same radio station, right?
Yeah.
So they pick up programs and put them on different stations. That's how that works.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys are doing. You're picking up many of those same programs.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
At the moment, anyway.
At the moment, yeah.
But we truly are pushing to go with local voices only.
Okay. So that's really your venue, is you really want to have a totally local show.
Yeah.
And when you say local, are you talking about just Eugene, or are you including Portland,
the
Northwest?
I'm including, basically, if somebody comes in from, Portland has their own, independent small community radio stations too, but
yeah,
from the Willamette Valley, anybody who wants to come in to do a show and have a show, there's a small independent radio station at the country fair, and there's a few on the coast, so, we're probably going to focus mainly on the Willamette Valley.
Mm-hmm. And only on Willamette Valley issues, or just to have a speaker?
No, just to have a speaker. I mean, if you want to talk about nuclear, that's a little bit bigger than the Willamette Valley.
It is, but I think it does affect the Willamette Valley. I mean, like...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
like
it
up
can
in
be
Cresswell,
international.
have you heard of, like up in Cresswell, of those trees? Someone told me that there are trees at the top. They're having a problem with the trees in Cresswell, where just the tops of the trees are dying.
Yeah.
And we know what that's from.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. Well, Rick, I really do think I do need to reach out to you after the show's over and figure out a time when we can do something in terms of more focused, especially about the Columbia Generating Station, because I know you've actively engaged on that quite a bit, and No Nukes Northwest is engaging on it, and it's, Robert McCullough just came out with a report that said that it's financially really infeasible to keep it running. Like it's just going to keep losing money. That may kill that thing.
Congress will bail it out.
Yeah, exactly. You've been around this block a little bit, huh, Rick?
Yeah.
God dang. Well, I know that you've been doing everything you can to end this nightmare called the nuclear industry. You're one of the few people that I've seen that really gets it here in Eugene, and have continued to work against it. So my hat's off to you. Thank you for that. Thank you for standing out.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't. So look, do you want to... Go ahead.
Thank you for being willing to get on the air and let everybody know.
Well, that's what we need, because people really don't know. They think that we're being taken care of. They are shocked. It's incomprehensible. We would never dream of this level of gross negligence.
I know.
I mean, as Americans, we pride ourselves for being humanitarians and loving people, and the way the nuclear industry has treated us is not loving and not humanitarian, and they continue to do so.
I know.
Perpetrate those lies, so... Well, Rick, we have about a minute and a half left. Is there anything we have not spoken about that you've been wanting to share?
Yeah, I think that in this context, I'd really like to honor and thank Corbin Harney, the Shoshone Native American spiritual leader, who for years fought. We had major actions at the nuclear test site in Nevada. And he was just a true light for a lot of us, in showing that you can, pit love against the nuclear nightmare and, have an effect.
Amen to that. His name is Corbin Charney.
Harney. It was Corbin Harney. He died
Corbin Harney.
Years ago. They actually honored him. We pushed the Pilk to, give him honor for being a third world nation, spiritual person and, guiding light many years ago.
Wow, thank you for that. That really is, I love learning new things, and I love that. Well, look,
yeah.
Rick, I'm going to reach out to you after the show. Maybe in a couple months you can come back and update us on the growth of the station.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for being with us. I encourage everyone to please take action. If you're listening to this in the Willamette Valley, please go to KEPW.org and share this radio station, www.ucy.tv/AOF. That's my radio show. With your friends. Share these two radio stations with your friends and family, because we need these independent stations to get out there on the airwaves, and it is time for us to buoy each other up, and we get to float to the top. How's about that?
Yeah.
So put your courage feet on. Take some action, you guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Yay. Thank you, Lonnie.
Thank you, Rick. I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. This is Lonnie Clark again. I wanted to give you a little bit of a word about why I keep having so many pre-recorded interviews. It's to help our guests, because many times people can't be on at 8 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time. So I pre-record. I hope you don't mind. In the last month, I've had quite a few. I do have one more to be posted, I think, next week or the week after. But I do appreciate you sharing our radio show, www.ucy.tv/AOF. And that's the Age of Fission radio show, as many of you already know if you're listening to this. I do appreciate you listening to our show, but it is actually more urgent that you do some action in your own personal life. Take action. It is important to lean on our elected officials. They are deregulating and about to do environmental catastrophe on Balco, as Kevin would say. They've already done it with the nuclear industry. It's getting so bad they actually have to admit that it's really bad now. So it is time for every person who hears this radio show not only to share this station, to share my radio show and share information that you've gotten on this show, because it's urgent in our lives, but take some action on your own. Figure out what you can do and what's calling you. There has to be something nagging at you to take some action, some social action. We need social justice. We need Americans to be Americans. And that means living up to American values of ethics, integrity, and compassion, which our elected officials have all apparently seemed to have forgotten. It's time for us to remind them who we are as Americans and refuse to be haters, walk in love, be love, and put your courage in.